Welcome to The Divine Style. I'm your host, Gerlinda. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about conflict resolution. Now, this is an incredible topic because honestly, when you can understand another's point of view, it can lead to real peace. Welcome to The Divine Style. Thank you so much, Thad, for joining us today. I am so excited to have you as my guest because you are a mediator. For those that don't know what a mediator is, can you explain a little bit about what you do?
In a nutshell, mediation is a facilitated negotiation between parties who have a dispute, misunderstanding, or are in conflict. I think that it all comes down to relationship. And when people aren't looking at each other or they're not listening to each other, it just becomes position. But when I get them to lift their heads and look across the table and they end up, even by accident, looking at each other in the eye, and then suddenly a connection happens. You know you're on the cusp now of leading to an understanding that will lead to better outcome of what they're doing. Maybe not get 100% in agreement, but they will at least move from this animosity, adversarial, absolutely in conflict to, oh, I didn't know that. And I love that process. And I've found that it works with kids when they're in trouble with the community, and it works with parenting, it works with commercial. It just, that human connection is so important.
It is amazing that you say that we don't make eye contact, and it is something that a lot of people, when they are in conflict, is that they want to avoid even communicating, let alone actually having to look at somebody in the eye. It can be a really awkward situation when you're mad at someone or you're feeling resentment or you're angry.
When people have a property dispute or neighbors are fighting over a fence, it's not about the fence. It's about, for the last 20 years, you've been living next door to me and you've never spoken to me. I feel disrespected, ignored, hurt. I feel minimized. That's how my father used to treat me when I was a kid. You have a fancy car, and it's jealousy, envy, it's all of that. I did a mediation around a tree falling on a fence and how the fence to be replaced. This is many years ago. And it came up that the neighbor reminded him of his father, and it was a triggering moment for him that every time he saw him, but it was a subconscious thing that didn't come up until we got into a private session. When I do family matters, getting them comfortable with being uncomfortable, because they're going to be sitting across from someone they really don't like right now. They really hate. They're like, I'm angry. And I'm going, okay, that's great. That's a feeling. And anger is the other side of love. So that's okay.
You would have sat with a lot of angry people, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, in mediation and maybe even in coaching and I do, work as well with people and
Yeah.
stuff comes up. How would you recommend, because obviously when we're the therapist in that situation, we can sit calmly and we can absorb that. But if you're somebody who's having to face maybe an angry spouse, and I mean, women and men, we all get angry as human beings, but how would you recommend someone responds to someone when they are going through, like when the other person is angry? Because the worst thing I think you can ever say to a woman when she's angry is calm down.
Anything that's going to tell her where to place anything, right? Confronting an angry male with more anger, it just escalates it. So it's finding ways, and there's really individual ways of de-escalating. And it's learning the triggers and seeing where they're coming from. But in the moment when it's the tsunami hitting you, get to somewhere safe, get out of the way. Because and trying to engage and rationalize, there's no logic here. This is an emotional reaction. This is the very reptilian brain now going into I'm gonna get what I want mode. And it's like, okay, no point trying to negotiate at that point. The point of negotiation would have been way before that escalation happened. So get to somewhere safe, get out if you can. And if it's that kind of rage, if it's an angry argument that's happening, get lost the car keys again sort of thing. It's not you're stupid or calm down or any of those things that are there. It's like lost the car keys again. Okay, let's walk back. So it's using a calm voice, talking respectfully. Like let's walk back to where you were. Where do you last remember having? So it's being helpful and asking questions, being curious in our relationships, being supportive. Not denigrating each other. That will stop the escalation because you can imagine if shame drives fear, fear drives anger, anger then drives I'm not knowing what I'm saying when I'm reacting, and now I've got a whole different thing going on. There's nothing related to the fact that the keys are at the bottom of my purse and I forgot to look in there.
You brought up two different, very different types of anger where there's that explosive rage, and taking cover is definitely
Yeah.
the smartest move in that space. And then if it is more that sort of frustration, venting anger, which is still not necessarily pleasant to be part of, but
Yeah.
you can be supportive because we've all felt that.
Yeah.
And having that inquiry is a really lovely way to engage when
Yeah.
somebody's feeling upset.
Being on the receiving end, that when you're upset or you're feeling agitated, to have someone say, "What can I do to help? What do you need in the moment? Can I help you in some way?"
Help me look for these damn keys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, it's yeah, and that's a way of disengaging because then they're no longer, oh, I'm not doing this alone. Because the biggest fear I find is that loneliness. I'm doing this by myself. I'm going to engage with you because I care about you. And this doesn't have to be a spouse. This could be a coworker. This could be someone that you just met. This could be someone that's sitting in a cafe having a hard day. How can I help? It changes the dynamic of everything. And we don't have to do it all the time, but if we do it once in a while, it really shifts the other person from panic to hope.
And that is a
Yeah.
lovely way to be, especially when you think about, and I get what you're saying in terms of being offering help when you have capacity to in your space. It's not sort of that helping for helping's sake in terms of running yourself into the ground, trying to help everybody around you. This is those conscious choices to say, hey, how can I be of service today? How can I help you wherever you
And
are?
and the truth is not everyone wants help.
Very true. It's hard to ask for it too when we need it.
It is hard to ask, and it's knowing how to do it, when to do it, and if it's invited, because it's also an invasion of personal space and privacy. So it's not just something just to go out and just do it for the sake of doing it. Understand that it's a gift that's often not wanted. When received in the moment when it's appropriate, it changes the dynamic for everybody around you.
Sometimes people feel like they want justice, like they feel like they've been hard done by, and that maybe that they've made a mistake even being in the relationship. And I do say that every relationship is getting to you to where you are right now. But
Hmm.
how would you say to someone that's in the thick of it right now, that's going through that and feeling like it's unfair, this is unfair and I'm not getting justice?
Right. And then the question is, what does justice look like? What is justice? Do you want him beaten up, or do you want him taken out into the street and tarred and feathered, you know, and then what? You're still left with all of it. So it's working through the process of it's like I'm going to drink the poison and hope he dies.
And I think that's good that you bring this up because no thoughts, are private in that regard. It's okay to share the exact feeling.
Where you get in trouble is if you act out on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's
Just a
not do
side note,
that.
we're not encouraging
Yeah,
people to
no,
to act
no,
out on the thoughts. No.
yeah, no. Don't act out on it. Move a muscle, change a thought.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
I heard it years ago. Move a muscle, change a thought. Walking is easy because if you're frustrated, you're feeling it. Go for a walk. You can touch with go for a walk through the park with nature, birds, water, sound, earth, and it's amazing that the body starts to let go of the pent up energy. It's okay to have the thought because it's part of the grief. It's part of the sense of betrayal. It's part of the loss. It's part of, here's my hope and dream that, for the rest of our lives, we were going to be walking off into the sunset. The kid, we're going to have, going to have empty nest syndrome. We're going to do our traveling. And then I hear that so often. And she doesn't, went out and fill in the blank. Well, I want them to pay for everything. Well, Okay. So I asked the question, well, what happens if you were to go to court and the court looks at this and the court says, here's how this works. And they have a formula that they work here in Australia. And it's not what you think. No one's going to walk away with 100%, but you may walk away with 60, 70% of the assets. It really depends on what the pool is, who's got the care, the children. Money isn't going to fix your feeling.
Mm-hmm.
We think it does, right? It's like eating, 3 liters of ice cream and saying, I was hoping the sugar was really going to help. Now I feel really ill and there's other consequences, right? It's, yeah, chocolate is good, but I don't know what moderation looks like around chocolate, so I have to watch it. But, anything that anesthetizes or numbs our feelings is just postponing the inevitable, but the emotions build up. So if we're looking for an emotional solution to our problem, it's not going to work. If we're looking to nurse the problem with sugar, alcohol, tobacco, other relationships, we still haven't addressed the core issue. So when someone's doing all of those things, then usually they repartner really quickly. I've seen that one, not
Oh,
usually,
yeah.
but it happens.
Mm.
Right? They'll repartner really quickly, and I'm going, can't comment on it as the mediator, but as a coach, I can ask questions. So how's that relationship working for you? You know, how's that supporting you where you want to go? So it's just to ask the questions to get them thinking about, this is what my past relationships have looked like. This is what my current relationship, have I established a pattern? Am I trying to use your relationship to numb my feelings because I'm still angry and hurt? And what am I looking for? Am I trying to soothe the bomb? And it's a very human thing. I've done it.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, and the opposite can be too true, right? So some people definitely do jump ship and then they can pick someone very similar or pick the complete opposite, thinking that they're picking someone different, but then that person's not great either. Or they
Yeah.
can vow never ever, I'll never be married ever again, or I'll never
Yeah.
find love ever again. It's very
Yeah.
dramatic in that emotional state.
Very normal that we think of it as a pendulum. We like to swing to the extremes because now I've addressed it. And then the pendulum comes back and goes, no, 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 I got to go over here now. And so the extremes of abstaining from all emotional outcome is it's another anesthetic.
Hence, the divorce coaching is a fabulous thing. Even
Yeah.
like a pre-divorce coach, it sounds like what you're talking about. If you
Oh,
can get there early enough, that like pre-separation or just at that separation stage.
the reason I do this work is just to help others. That point of pain that we find ourselves in, whether it's family or it's, you built a house. I've done mediation with house builders, house owners, and contractors. And contractors take pride in their work, and homeowners take their dreams that they invested into their home, and there's a disappointment. 18 months of not talking, letters are exchanged, emails go back and forth, but no one's actually had the conversation. And I'll do it by telephone, by Zoom, in person, whatever's going to work. But we start the conversation, and it's like, so when was the last time you guys spoke? Oh, I don't know, 18 months ago. So what was that like? Okay, so what would happen if we could have a conversation now? What would you say? How would you think that'd be received? A couple saying, one spouse saying about the other, I want him finish the sentence. Well, how's that going to work? To me, it's all about the process of moving from that point of pain to the point of peace. Because I really believe, when the noise stops in our head and we get the moment to be calm, we get clarity. And then it's like, how important was that? It's to get people to explore what it's like to be on the other side of this. What would happen if you got everything you asked for? Like a workplace dispute. I hate my boss. I want his head on a platter. I want him out. I want him fired from the company. And I've done this in conflict management. I go, okay, that's done. Now we got that. Now what? Getting what we want isn't always the answer. And that's my own personal journey. Like if I got everything I ever wanted, I would not be happy.
Oh, that is so true. How many times do we get something that we think we want and then realize we didn't want it at all?
Always talking through that belief that I want, I want, I want. The man who wrote a Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, right? I went to a workshop with him,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, he was awesome. You're just sitting in the room, and you're like, yeah, it's a really big bubble here, and then you realize you're sitting in this aura of this man that filled this room with about 150 people in it. It was just impressive. But he talked about, that thing, I want $1 million. God, grant me $1 million. God, I really want $1 million. I will have $1 million. I want $1 million. And here's the thing with the want, the wish, it's granted. You got it. You now have the want for the $1 million.
Very clever.
And I was like, he's so right that when I say I want, it's like, no, I have everything I need, and it's wanting what I have rather than having to want more. And I so love that. I got taught that by wise men many years ago. It's wanting what I have instead of having a want for more. It's all of that in the process when getting back to the whole mediation is that people work from fear. It's the fear of lack of, or I'm not going to have enough, or I've got to amass more, I've got to bring it in. And so much of this energy comes here. And when working with individuals, it's like, well, what happened if you just let go? Because I really subscribe to the concept of abundance, is that abundance really is letting go of more because it's already here. So abundance isn't just having more money. Abundance is feeling the richness of life, that, the breath that we carry. Like, we were talking a little bit about when people have resentments or angry, one of the things that we do is we hold our breath. We're still 3 years old. We hold our breath. We clench our fists. We tighten our bodies. What would happen if we breathed in and exhaled?
I think back to a time when, I've been through a divorce, and my ex-husband, he one day cleaned out the house like there was nothing left, no furniture, no nothing, no kids' toys, no clothes, nothing. I went home from work and he'd totally gotten rid of everything. And I remember calling the police saying, what do I do? Like, I don't have anything and I need stuff. And he's locked it up in a storage shed and I can't get access. And they said, what do you have? I said, my 3 kids. And they said, so what's the most valuable thing you've got? And I was like, my 3 kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so everything else was superficial. It didn't matter, about the paintings, they can be replaced, or, even things that I thought were very special to me. I'm like, I didn't need them. I got what I needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
really powerful.
and that's the moment that when you went into your heart and you
Mm.
sat in that I love this when we sit in that silent space of the heart. I like to call it we rest between heartbeats. That's the space. And when we sit there, we realize everything we need is right now. Everything we have is here. And everything is met and we're at peace. And then all of a sudden, what's possible becomes visible. Because getting angry, coming from fear, trying to throw things, doesn't change it. And it's like, oh, what can I change? Well, I have the most valuable thing now. I have my 3 kids. That was the beginning of all that you are and you do now. I
Yeah.
can see that. That was the gift that you didn't know you were receiving. And the universe has a really weird sense of humor when it gives us these gifts. But but what an awesome gift with hindsight. At the moment, it's horrible. It's fearful. It's scary. I gotta buy food. I've got to feed. I've got to put a roof on. And when you get into that, and I saw it in the whole body, you just went completely calm. I have the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what became possible became visible. Okay, now I know the next thing. I'm going to get somewhere to sleep tonight. Then I'm going to work on getting some food so that they're taken care of. And I'm going to be taking care of myself so that I can do tomorrow. And it really comes out of that because divorce is such a life death for so many people, and it hits them in so many different ways. And I've seen so many different ways that people can be cruel to each other when they were at one time in love, and and it's hard to watch, but it's that space that I've got to hold because it allows them to move, and they don't know it, but in 6 months they're going to be in a completely different space.
So if somebody is going through conflict right now, what
Mhm.
would be some key tools you would suggest that would help them through at this time?
Try not to do it alone because the worst thing that we can do for ourselves is to think we got this, that we are not an island unto ourselves, and that we are part of a community and there are people that can help. There are other divorce coaches, there are conflict coaches, there are therapists, there are counselors, there are solicitors, there are doctors, there are friends in this community, and there are people going through the same thing that we all go through. Find a group to talk to. The worst thing that we can do for ourselves is to try and do this alone, because alone becomes lonely. And loneliness really withers the soul. That's the only way I can describe it. We just slowly start to die a little bit more on the inside. And it becomes this self downward spiral that I would really recommend finding ways of walking in nature, finding a community. Go with a walking club. Find someone a trusted friend to talk to. Not get advice, because like when in conflict, sometimes our friends are the worst people to tell us what to do.
Oh my gosh, that is so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they bring all their baggage.
They bring all their baggage and they're using their experiences to fix yours. And that's not necessarily the best way forward. You want someone who's going to just, I have found that more than half of the time, someone just wants someone to hear them. They want to be heard. It happens in the workplace. It happens at home. It can be someone that hears, that gives you tools of confidence so you can go forward. One of the things is that when you're in conflict, you're trying to navigate all of your emotion, all of these things, and reaching out to someone that understands how to navigate these. They are rocky waters. They really are. There's so many things that are going on that it takes immense courage to ask for help. Understand that courage is knowing that we're facing adversity and still wanting to go forward. But we don't do it alone. We can do it whole hand. I used to love this. One of the favorite books my mother gave me many years ago was Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It's a great book, and on the back of it, it's got things like afternoon naps are important. Milk and cookies are really good. When crossing the street, look both ways and hold hands. These are things that we learned in kindy, and imagine if we did that as adults. It's really good. So, when you're with your husband crossing the street, hold hands. You look both ways.
Or a
You know,
stranger, that'd be fun for them, wouldn't
that'll
it?
be fun. It can be, because sometimes that stranger might be the very person that needs that hand holding today. We never know when we're going to be able to be of use, but it's always to be aware that we can.
Oh, Thad, you're a legend. Thank you so much for your
uh,
wisdom and your input. This has been a fabulous chat, and I will definitely get you back on because I know that there's so much more that you can share.
Thank you.
And for anybody that is wanting to learn more about what you do, how can they get in touch?
They can reach out via the website, which is betteroutcomes.au. They can send me an email, sad@betteroutcomes.au. So yeah, I'm happy to take the time. If anyone has a question, wants to explore more, drop me a line, give me a call, text me. Happy to answer anything.
Beautiful. I'll also pop those links and details in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on The Divine Style. I'm your host, Gerlinda. If you'd like more information, please visit gerlinda.com.au, or for free resources and downloads, head to gerlindastella.com.